one, the Cutty Sark, Glasgow. You might see this in the similarities. There's another tale. Aberdeen is full of tales, this is why I love the history of Aberdeen. That a worker, one of the people who built the Thermopylae, you can see again, do you know how we spoke about with the Murchison, how before computers and designing you would make models to scale, and then you'd say, I want to build this. The half models, apparently they took drawings and half models to a rival in Glasgow, and then they built the Cutty Sark. And you can see the similarities in the ship. Apparently, the reason it's so fast is because of the way it's built. If you look, it's narrower at the front, and the way that it's built, it allows more to be put onto the ship and for it to remain buoyant. Also, it has the copper lining to stop barnacles attaching themselves and damaging the ship. Also, the Thermopylae won one of 3 tea races. Now, there used to there's what's called the Blue Ribbon Race, in which you would bring tea from China, and it would be obviously blue ribbon because they would stretch a blue ribbon across the harbour, and it was the fastest ship to bring tea from China to London. Thermopylae won 1, Cutty Sark 2. The Cutty Sark said the reason that the Thermopylae won at that one race was because they lost their rudder a few metres from the line. So they said that obviously Aberdeen cheated. We don't believe them 1 minute, but that's a nice tale. If you'd just like to follow me, we're just going to head over about shipbuilding. Now, in Aberdeen, I was still like a school teacher at this bit, trying to get the ball. Now, there was 4 famous families, shipbuilding families in Aberdeen. There was the Duthys, who donated the cabin down below, the Hall and Russell, the Alexander Hall, and the John Lewis, not the shop. It's not the John Lewis shop. They've specialised from steamers. You can see a ship being christened and sent out to sea in the video behind you.
The last ship was 1988.
Yeah, 1988 was the last ship that was built in Aberdeen. Another Aberdeen ship built was the Thomas Blake Scottish Samurai. It was built to great loss. It's one of the train ships too. Now we do have a small exhibit in regards to Thomas Blake Glover. He's not that famous in Aberdeen. However, in Japan, he's huge. To scale it up, Aberdeen Maritime Museum has about 30,000 visitors each year. Thomas Blake Glover has millions of visitors each year, and it's smaller than this museum. Now, Thomas Blake Glover, when Japan opened up their borders to the west, he took full advantage of this. When there was civil war, he did sell arms to both sides, or to whoever was winning, but he was a businessman, he wasn't going to lose money. He also introduced the tea trade, and he set up several businesses such as breweries, if you're interested in your beer.
First railway.
First railway, and he also smuggled out four Japanese eldest sons to come and get educated in Aberdeen. One of them ended up to be Japan's first Prime Minister, and I can't remember his name, but he was Japan's first Prime Minister. Also, it's not open now, but we did have a Thomas Blake Glover House in Aberdeen, but it's currently closed. We do have a bit of an exhibit behind us, but I'm just aware of time and we've still got another floor. Now this is all about the ship construction and trawling, and also we have photos about World War II, where we have ladies, when the men went off to war, they went on to work at the shipbuilding. It's very much, when the men are away, the ladies come out and play. We do have put on the rivets on the ship. Again, it's going back to the whole idea of children not being, children not really having that childhood that because the parents would need money, they would go out to work to help bring home money. It's so recent as my grandfather, he left school at 12 to go and work in the mines to bring home money. That's how, how recent it is. And also if you go around the world today, you'll still see it. But there's photos of two children just by the big hammer, and they honestly look like little adults in the way that they're dressed, and the way that they hold themselves. And I think it is that fascinating way of, how people react when they're put in certain situations, and children being forced to grow up too quickly. Now we're just going to head up to the top floor. Would you like to follow me? Okay, this is one of my favourite views of the museum. Well, from the museum, this is Aberdeen Harbour in its finery. Now, all these ships, bar the one with the Viking pointing that way, oil industry ships. The Northlink ship that will take you to Orkney or Shetland runs 7 till 7. They always make sure that there's one ship in the harbour. That's why it runs 12 hourly. If you catch the one that leaves at 5, you're heading to Orkney first. So make sure you pack an extra sandwich or two. Now Aberdeen Harbour has several stories. First one, pirates, as you all might like to hear. Now we had two famous pirates in Aberdeen. We had the Earl of Mar, and we had the Thomas Davidson in the 1400s, 1405. Now he attacked two ships that belonged to, we might know the Dick Whittington, Lord Mayor of London. He attacked his two ships, the Marie and the Thomas. When they were in Aberdeen, now took the contents and then sold them on to Holland. They were never punished because, hey, they're rich. Why would they ever get punished? They could buy their way out. However, not all pirates were lucky. There was 5 pirates in the 1500s. Richard Laird, Andrew Brewster, and 3 others that names escape me, were hung at the harbour, but for piracy. But first, they had to pay £3 and 5 shillings to pay for the rigging, the rope, and the dinner of the person who had to witness it. You don't want to watch that stuff on an empty stomach, right? Also, as you might know, piracy wasn't always that naughty. You could apply to government, or if you're American, you could apply to Congress, and you could get your paper of marks in which you could be a privateer and you could be a pirate legally. Now this was all before in the 1700s, where piracy became, do you know Pirates of the Caribbean? Where you had famous ports like Nassau. It would happen here. Now during the war, as you might know, England and Scotland have always had that war. My partner's Scottish. Wars just start when we want washing up them, you know. But used to be, what gentlemen used to be paid for is to attack ships of enemy troops. Mary Queen of Scots once got a letter from Elizabeth I, her cousin, because during during 1 year, 60 tons of wine, which I think is 69,000 litres or something, of wine. Now you can't drink water or beer. Of wine, sorry, you can drink beer, you can't drink water. With wine, so it's actually taken from the English troops in 1 year. And Elizabeth I requested that Mary calls off her troops because they were running low on wine. I just think it's uncivilized, you know. Although there is, it's not just wine that you would steal or tobacco, but also there's theories. Sorry, there's records of paper being pirated, reams of paper. Just very basic, whatever you can get money from, it would have been taken and sold on. Also part of our darkest, yes, definitely our darkest history in Aberdeen. Before the black slave trade, we had the white slave trade. In Aberdeen, around 300 to 600 children were stolen from the streets of Aberdeen. They were sold for £16 each, and they were sold on to plantation owners. One famous one was in a plantation owner in Philadelphia, and he actually has a book. One of the famous ones was Indian Pete. He was from a boy, and he was stolen from the street of Aberdeen and sold to a plantation owner in Philadelphia called Wilson. He educated the boy, although he was very lucky. He was kidnapped from Aberdeen. He was then kidnapped by the Native Americans. He then fought in a war against the French, was taken prisoner by the French, was then brought back to Aberdeen, was imprisoned in the toll booth, was exiled to Edinburgh, and died of alcoholism. That's summing up his life. I do recommend that you do read his book. It's a very, very colourful life. What did happen was, when he wrote down his stories, Aberdeen obviously didn't like it. The council certainly didn't like it because it highlighted the corruption that was happening at the time, especially when it was told that children, before they were put on the ships, were put into the cellar of a pub on Castlegate, and they paid for a piper. Whether this is true or not, I don't know, but it's one of those tales. They would have a piper play outside the pub so that you wouldn't be able to hear the children cry. But they do have records of these children being sold for £16 each. So they weren't cheap. They weren't cheap labour. Also, you can't see it, obviously, and they're not open to the public. But with smuggling at the time, there's tunnels under Aberdeen. There's a famous one that runs the Provost Skeen's house to the church, St Nicholas Kirk. And that was, if you were naughty and they were chasing after you, you could take the tunnel and you could claim sanctuary in the church, so you couldn't be prosecuted. There's several tales. They do have examples of them in Edinburgh that I do recommend that you go and try, because I've been in them. Spooky as hell, but fantastic. Also, the harbour. The harbour's a lie, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the true harbour. The harbour has not always been here. It used to be a lot further up, to about this road here. It's just through modernisation, it's obviously gone further out. So, it's the oldest working business in Britain. It's 1136. Yes, Guinness World Records has Aberdeen Harbour as the oldest business because there's a charter of David I, and it dates back to 1136. Now, talking about the history of the harbour, we're now going to move to have a look at the archaeology just around the corner. If you'd like to show all this. These are all pieces here that have been excavated in Aberdeen. Now in Aberdeen, because of the type of soil that we have, because it's waterlogged, it's very preservative. So we can have, for example, we can excavate paper in the cabinet just behind you. There we go. We can take fabric and paper from the ground. We can date the harbour to about 10 to 12,000 years ago, because we have examples of the flint. And then we can bring it to the Bronze Age. Also, we have Roman coins which were excavated from the harbour. Now one might think, why do we have Roman coins? Because Romans, as you know, they never got this far up in Aberdeen. However, it does show that there was trade with the Romans at the time, as we have their coins. We also have other coins. I used to work in University King's Museum, from the Viking Age, and they would have a cross on them. Now some people say is this due to Christianity or you know, good luck. It's not. It's because, say if you had a loaf of bread, they would say 2.5 pennies. So you'd go up and you'd go, right, 2 pennies and half. So you could get it down to the quarter. We can also look at their diet too. We can see that they had a seafood diet. Don't know whether sushi, though it is my favourite. See they had this seafood diet from the shells that we found. Also the type of ships that they used, the little boats. I keep forgetting the word.
Coracle.
Coracle, I'm never going to remember that.
Round one with animal skin over it.
Yeah. It was an early ship. It was an early fishing ship in which it was a wooden frame that way, and an animal hide to keep it watertight. And this would be the type of ore, and it just shows the preservation of the soil that we've got this much wood that we do. Also, just going back to the small boats, because of the geography of Aberdeen, and also going back to the piracy, ships never used to dock this far in. They used to dock out by the cliffs, and then what would happen is you'd get these gentlemen in little ships, and as the ship was, because they would use little sailboats to bring the goods into the shore, they would come out of the caves and attack the little ships, take their stuff and then take them back to the cliffs, because no one wanted to go near the cliffs because it was so dangerous. But if there's so much money to make, these guys were going to take that risk to obviously go out and take the goods from them. Also, if we look behind us, we can look that Aberdeen hasn't just been, we can see that Aberdeen hasn't just been centred within itself, but it's had trade around the world. One example of this is we have this little disc here. Can anyone take a guess of what that disc is made of? Ivory. No. Cheat. So it's made of ivory. Where can you get ivory but Africa? So it shows that there's been a trade with Africa. Also, it's been a trade with Rome. It could also be that these ships, people were taking merchant ships to go on crusade, and they were bringing these goods back to them. And you know what? Sometimes I've done it with my mobile phone. You've been walking down the road and it drops on the floor and it's lost forevermore. We also have the example of a barrel. Obviously, it would hold wine, goods, because obviously you don't have cardboard boxes back then, and it could be reused. Also, if we look, we have the little book mounts. So you would have, obviously, your book, and because books, you didn't have Waterstones back then or mass production, you would honestly pay monks. You would go to a monk and you'd say, here's my book, I want that copied, and you would give them a year, and you'd go back and it would be beautifully illustrated and bound, and you'd have these book mounts onto the leather just to make it look pretty. Also, you can see the decoration that hasn't been lost on this jug here. You can see the face. It's just these little details, because I mean, to me, this is history. This is history that we can touch. Like I said right at the beginning, I work in construction project management. So before we do any buildings, we have to call the archaeologists in. And as I have a history degree, and history, I love history. I like to be there when they excavate all the goods to see what they have. A lot of it is, clay pipes, but sometimes you do get like these little goodies, like the ivory discs. You might have the pots. I think this is being rebuilt because you can see the cracks. But we've reached the end of our tour now, ladies and gentlemen, so we're just going to go through the room, it's next door, to look at the way that it did when the church was first built. So this is what it would have looked like. On one of the tours there is a lady who was a parishioner to the church when it was a working church, and she said it looked fantastic and it looked the way it was. So it's just these little bits. Here is an exhibit about the Piper Alpha. The Piper Alpha happened in 1988, in which 168 men died of 128 men that were on board at the time. I personally don't like to see it as an exhibit. I like to see it as a memorial to the men that perished. I like to think, because especially Aberdeen, it's seen as a village, there's not one family that was not touched by this disaster. And there's people to this day that are still affected by it. And I always think that these men aren't ready to join the other men and women on the pages of history yet. But it does give you details about what happened on the exhibit, and you can also have a look at what has been dragged from the shore, and also the medals that were given to some of the ships that went out to rescue survivors that were at sea at the time. Like many disasters, it led to an inquest and it led to safety changes. Like the 1830 sinking of the Oscar, which led to new regulations about ships on shore. After the Piper Alpha disaster, we have the Cullen Report in November 1990, which issued safety requirements, such as the living quarters and the working quarters had to be different. They had to be at two different sides of the ship, of the rig. Also, before you go offshore, you have to have a work permit. This video here will show you the safety requirements that you have to go through to be able to go offshore now. I had one lady on my tour a couple of weeks ago who said that it's currently changed. One of the tests that you have to sit is you have to go into a pool and you're in a mock of a helicopter, and it's dumped into the water 3 times. However, this lady told me that I think it's now 6 times that they do it. Now, my partner did it before he went offshore for his training, and they dunk you in slowly, straight down first. Then the second time, you're fast. And then this third time, you're dunked in, but as it goes down, it twists upside down, and you have to obviously escape. Now, sometimes you think this is a lot to have to go through to go offshore, because it doesn't matter whether you're an engineer or you're a part washer, you have to do exactly the same training. But what does stay in mind is we haven't had, touch wood, we haven't had another Piper Alpha disaster since that day. So it just shows that, you know, going back, double checking, triple checking, like people do with the uniforms and the safety equipment, that it does help. Now, as you might know, Aberdeen Oil, we're having a bit of an issue with it at the moment. There are new renewable energy that we're looking at the moment. We do have a small exhibit about wind and sea power. As you're aware, we've also got the wind turbines at the moment, because as we're all becoming more aware of the environment, we are looking at new ways of having fuel in homes rather than relying on fossil fuels. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the tour. I hope you enjoyed it. This is only my 3rd time of doing it on my own, so please be gentle, as Jill has feedback forms. So thank you very much for taking the time, and this is a whistle-stop tour. Please go back and look at the exhibits. Take your time, we don't close for another couple of hours, so please go and have fun and have a cup of tea, because I know I need one. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that tour. Unfortunately, Michelle's just wrong, she finished doing a charity thing now, so I'm going to nip back. So I'm not going to be able to nip round and see most of these exhibits. I might come back at some later date so we can have a closer look at the exhibits. So, off to pick Chelle up.